Hello there and welcome once again to Red Gaming Tech for your daily dose of the latest gaming news as of the 26th of June. My name is Amata and today I have some news for you concerning State of Decay, which has unfortunately become the second game in 24 hours to be banned, or in other words refused classification in Australia. And this news was shared to us by executive producer Jeff Strain, who wrote on the Undead Labs forum. And he had this to say: I have bad news to share. The State of Decay has been refused classification by the Australian Classification Board. We've run afoul of certain prohibitions, regarding the depiction of drug use. We're working with Microsoft to come up with options, including changing names of certain medications in the game to comply with ratings requirements. Whatever our path forward, it's going to take a bit. I know this is frustrating, believe me, we're frustrated too. But each country has the right set of its own rules about content, and it's our responsibility to comply with them. Rest assured, we'll do everything we can to find a way to get the game into your hands. So yeah, just yesterday I did a video on the fact that Saints Row 4 is actually banned in its current state, also refused rating in Australia, and State of Decay has unfortunately joined it now, only 24 hours afterwards. And as with Saints Row 4, the classification board did respond to the original article, which is on IGN, and gives them a report that outlines the reason that State of Decay was refused classification at this point in time, which is of course 26th of June. So I'm just going to read this out. It's a little bit long, but still it's interesting to know their reasons behind it. Okay. The game contains the option of self-administering a variety of medications throughout gameplay which act to restore a player's health or boost their stamina. These medications include both legal and illicit substances such as methadone, morphine, amphetamines, stimulants, acetaminophen, ibuprofen, codeine, aspirin, trucker pills, painkillers, and tussin. Of these, methadone, morphine, and amphetamines are prescribed drugs, and the term stimulant is commonly used to refer to a class of drugs of which several are prescribed. Players obtain drugs by scavenging for them in the environment or by manufacturing them in a medical lab. When players find drugs in the environment, the name of the drug appears on screen, and the drug is also represented by a visual icon such as a pill, bottle, or syringe. Within the medical lab, players are prompted to make substances such as potent stims, mild stims, and painkillers. The laboratory includes a research library and chemical dictionary. When administering drugs, the player is briefly depicted moving a pill bottle toward their mouth. The sound of pills rattling in the bottle accompanies the depiction. The name of the drug appears on screen, along with its representative icon. Consumption of the drug instantly increases the player's in-game abilities, allowing them to progress through gameplay more easily. The applicant has stated that a player can choose not to make any drugs or scavenge for them, but it would be very difficult to complete the game without some form of medication. In the board's opinion, the game enables the player's character to self-administer prescribed drugs which aid in gameplay progression. This game therefore contains drug use related to incentives or rewards and should be refused classification. And when they were asked by IGN's Ryan McCaffrey via Twitter whether changing the names of the in-game drugs is something they're going to look at, Jeff Strain replied, "That's certainly one option we're considering." So this is certainly very interesting, because if you recall the Saints Row 4 video that I did yesterday, the fact that drugs and things like that were used as incentives or rewards was actually one of the reasons behind Saints Row 4 being banned or refused classification. Obviously there were other reasons, such as the high amounts of violence and sex in that game, but the drugs as incentives or rewards was mentioned. I recall that quite clearly, as I only did it just yesterday morning. So what do I feel about this? Well, it's a real shame that this has happened, especially so close to Saints Row 4 being banned or denied classification, if you prefer. I don't know. I mean, it was all really good when Australia finally got this adult games rating, because obviously previously to this, they lost out on so many good games, and it just seemed really just kind of backwards, especially comparing to how liberal the rest of Australia is. And it just seems really weird that Australia didn't allow the sale of adult games. So obviously it's a good thing that they've got this rating, but it does seem strange how suddenly, after months of not hearing anything, that all of a sudden we've got 2 games in a row that have been denied classification. It seems like the use of drugs is something that the classification board feels very strongly about, since that has appeared twice now in 2 separate games within the space of 24 hours. And if you think about it from a classification board's perspective, you know, the people who have to make sure there's not inappropriate content being shown to people, and making sure that it gets the correct rating and all that good stuff, you might be able to see from their perspective why this might be an issue. However, I don't think the game is saying take drugs, drugs are good. I don't think that's what it's saying at all, but obviously that's how they feel it came across, and that seems to be their logic behind denying it a rating, which is a real shame. If all they have to do is to change the names of the drugs to get it sorted and get it allowed a classification in Australia, I think that's fine, because you're not losing anything. The names of the drugs are different, all of that good stuff. And maybe that will allow it to come out. I hope so, because that would be a very small change, just a little bit of give from the developer. Say, hey look, the drugs aren't named these things anymore. Can you release it now? And if they allow it, cool. The only problem is if they have to change more than that to get it released in Australia. I speculated on this with the Saints Row 4 video as well, that I wonder how different the Australian version is actually going to be, and I would ask the same question again of State of Decay. Hopefully all they have to do is change the name. That would be a very small compromise and wouldn't really affect the game in any real way, and they're just names at the end of the day. The gameplay, the mechanics, they're still there, so that's fine. What worries me, and I'm sure worries any Australians watching this video, is how much will they have to change if that doesn't work? And I don't know. It just depends on how strict the classification board wants to be. They might not take the changing of the name as enough. They might still say, well, the name is not important, it's the act. And they could say that. I would see them saying something like that. But fingers crossed that doesn't happen. Oh dear, not good news for Australians in the last couple of days. Oh dear. Well, let's hopefully that both Saints Row 4 and State of Decay get this sorted out. Anyway, that's me done for this video. I hope you've enjoyed. Hit me up with any thoughts and opinions down below. Always good to hear from you guys. Anyway, thank you for watching again. I'll see you next time.